that point, I had been working on one other asylum case for NIJC, and it was kind of stalled because the gentleman I was representing had temporary protected status. And so I thought, great, I'm going to pick up another one, and here I am 3 years later, and we're still working on the same case. Watching this movie was definitely a reminder of a lot of the things that we went through. Like Raj had said, he was moved from, first he was at McHenry, first you were at Dodge, then he was at McHenry, then he moved to Tri-County, and they never tell the attorneys, they never tell anybody. So I would call and to talk, I would finally figure out how to even call the facility, which was always a hard thing to do. And they'd say, no, we don't know who that is. And it was this constant battle of just getting decent information in order to represent your client. I also got to see Rashid, first he was very positive and jovial. He was detained at that point, and I watched basically him crumble from that. It was very hard, and I was in touch with the NIJC quite a bit at that point, and they were continually telling me about other people who were there who were just giving up on their cases and being deported and ready to, unfortunately, go home and face the atrocities in their home countries just because they couldn't stand to be detained any longer. Luckily, I never had that discussion with Rashid. He was determined to see this through, and once he got through his anger, he actually, because he's so well-spoken and became very well-read. In fact, the first year he was in there, he asked me if I would please send him a Black's Law dictionary, which I did. And he seemed to, start helping a lot of people in the jail, and that seemed to give him a lot of self-worth and make it a more positive environment for him. But it took us 2.5 years to get him released. I should explain the only reason he was detained is, as Rashid said, he was pulled over because he had a broken taillight. He was in a small town in Wisconsin. He was pulled over. This cop asked him his name, never asked for identification. Rashid was a little nervous because he had a ticket in Minnesota that he had not yet paid. So he said his buddy's name. But again, no one asked for his ID. About 2 or 3 weeks later, he'd taken care of the ticket in Minnesota, but he had not fixed the taillight. And so he got pulled over again by the same cop in the same small town in Wisconsin. And this time, the gentleman asked for his ID and determined that it was not the name that he'd been presented with before. That he decided justified a search of the car, and he found the Yemen papers with the Somali papers. And that kicked off 2.5 years of detention. And when I first was involved, we were getting ready for the merits hearing. It took over 6 months to even get a bond hearing for Rashid. It didn't make any sense why it even took that long. When we finally did get a bond hearing, they decided that he was a flight risk because somebody had found supposedly a picture of a map of the jail that he was in and had taken some journal pages where he talked about wanting to get out. So they used that one for a long time, and we took the issue to the judge, we took the issue to to ICE, directly to ICE. We asked if he could be released with an ankle bracelet. We literally did everything we could. We then went up to the 7th Circuit to appeal his case, won on the 7th Circuit, and then went back before the judge and said, okay, judge, will you please now release him from custody? And he said that these did not qualify as changed circumstances to allow Rashid to be released. We had to appeal that up to the Board of Immigration Appeals. We filed 2 habeas corpus actions in this case because of the delay in just getting his case to even move forward. So it's been a battle every step of the way, and that was even trying to figure out which detention facility he was in at that point. It's been a long struggle, and now we have actually, we're back on remand, we're back in the immigration court, and actually next week we'll see if this holds, but we're supposed to get a final ruling in his case. Although the judge has already punted on that one, so we'll see what happens. But it's been a long road. Rashid was be the first to admit that he made some mistakes early on.